Hey, what's up guys? My name is The Guided Code, I guess. This is the very first video on this channel and we are gonna talk about how does C++ actually works. And we are gonna learn about how we go from a source file, which is a text file, to an actual executable binary that we can run. Before we start, I wanted to clarify that I'm learning C++ myself and documenting it here. So this channel is basically me figuring things out and explaining them as clearly as I can. No assuming you already know stuff. If that sounds useful, stick around and let's start. All you need to know to write C++ is that you have a source file in which you write text in, and then you pass it through a compiler, which compiles the text in some kind of binary. Now that binary could be some kind of library, or it can be an actual executable program. Today we are gonna talk about executable programs, so let's start. If you don't have a compiler or an actual IDE, I recommend installing Visual Studio because it's one of the better and comes with all you need and is free. So here in Visual Studio we need to create a project. Let's hit create new project. Now here we can choose a project template. To start we will use a C++ empty project. So click on all languages and select C++, and now select empty project. Now you need to choose a name and a location for the projects. I recommend that you put it to a folder close to like cdev. I already made a folder, as you can see. The reason I recommend it is because the normal path is very long, and because if you have a name with a space, it can cause some problems in the future. So just do like I did for now, and for the name, just name it Hello World, and make sure to select the place solution and projects in the same direction. Now it create. Okay, now we are in the project. Right click on source file, add new item, and let's call it main.cpp. Okay, so now we are gonna write a basic program that print hello world in the terminal. We will write hash include iostream int main std count hello world std and out. So now this is basically a source file, a text file, and now we need to convert it into an executable binary. We just need to right click the project name hello world and then click build, and as you can see our build succeed. So there are lots of things that are going on. First of all, we have this include iostream statement. Anything that starts with a hash is called a preprocessor statement. The first thing that the compiler does when it receives a source file is that it processes all your preprocessor statement even before actual compiling starts. That's literally why it's called preprocessor. It runs before everything else. Hash include tells the compiler go find this file and paste its content right here. In this case, we're grabbing a file called iostream because that's where the tools we need like std count for printing to the console are actually declared. Files include like these are called header files, and we'll go much deeper on those in a future video. Now there is the main function. This is called the entry point of your program. Here's what that means. So when you run your program, computer doesn't just execute code randomly from top to bottom of every file. It starts specifically inside this main function. From here, code runs line by line in order unless something changes the flow, like an if statement or a function call, which we'll cover in a later video. So in our main, we only have the std count object, which sends our hello world test to the console, and then since it's all we have in our main functions, the program will terminate. So now that we understand what's inside main, we need to know how we go from a source file to an actual executable binary. So basically we have three stages. The first is the preprocessor statement, include iostream. Hash include iostream tell our compiler go to this iostream file and take all the content, then paste it here so we can use it. From now, if you don't understand it, don't worry, we will cover better this argument in the future video. You just need to know that with include iostream we use it so we can use std count. Okay, now once the compiler pasted the content of the preprocessor statement in our text file, our source file gets compiled in this stage. Our compiler translates all the text into machine code that our CPU can execute. This step is also where the compiler checks your syntax. If you made a mistake, like forgetting a semicolon, this is where you get a compiler error. So all you need to know is that after preprocessor statement, we go to the second part, which is compiler compiling each CPP files in our project. But remember, other files do not get compiled, only CPP files. You just need to remember other files get included via preprocessor statement called include into a CPP files, and that's when they get compiled. So if we had like two CCP files, just know each CCP file gets compiled individually into an object file. The extension of an object file in Visual Studio is .obj. Once we compiled all the CPP files into an object files, mean to pack every obj file in an exe file. And now we go to the last part with the linker. So now let's talk about these two important buttons. If you didn't change them, by default they are debug and S64. So basically you don't need to understand this now, but debug is when we write and test our code. If there is any error, and then release is when we are sure all works and we want to ship the final binary. And then there is these other two, which are S64 and x86. In some cases you could see Win32, which is the same as x86. So, S64 is for a computer that runs on 64-bit, and S86 is for a 32-bit computer. Now you probably will have a 64-bit computer, but if you have a 32-bit, just use x86. Okay, so now remember when I said the binary can be compiled into an executable binary or a library? Well, let's take a look at this configuration on this project. Right click on the project name, Hello World, and go to Properties. First of all, let's select Debug and S64. Now, to decide if to compile into a library or an executable binary, we can see our configuration type. We have some options. For example, if you want a library, you will choose the library. If we want an application, which is an executable binary, we will choose application.exe. And that's what we want, so we will use this. Okay, so now for the compiler settings, they are located on C, C++. Here we have optimization, which you can see is different for debug and release. If you want to know more how the compiler works, I will make a video about that, so don't worry. If you want, you can see the linker settings that are below the compiler one. Okay, so basically you can see all the settings here. For now, just know that the linker just takes multiple obj files and combine them into an executable binary. Okay, so the way the linker does this is kinda long and complicated, so I will make another video for that. So now let's just see what really happens. Let's compile our file with Ctrl F7 and it compiled. Keep in mind that if you compile just a single file using Ctrl F7, the linker is not called because the compiler is only generating that individual object file. Okay, let's go see what the compile generated. Right click in the project name, Hello World, and click Open File in Explorer. By default, Visual Studio is totally a mess with output files. So just follow me and let's go on Hello World, SCT4, debug, and here we have a main.obj. This is what our compiler stage has generated. Now let's go back and build the entire project and let's see what happened. Now let's go back and build the entire project and let's see what the compiler has generated. Hello World, SCT4, debug, and here we have our executable binary that we can run. Okay, that's it for this episode 1. We covered how C++ goes from a source file code to an executable, what the entry point is, and the basic idea behind compiling and linking. In the next episode, we're gonna get into variables and start actually writing code that does something. If this was useful, subscribe. It helps a lot for a channel that just started. And let me know in the comments what you're learning right now, or if there is anything from this video that wasn't clear. See you in the next one.